The battle for Redstone Ranch. The morning sun barely crested the Texas horizon when a rifle crack split the quiet of Redstone Ranch. I dropped to the dirt, heart hammering, the bullet missing my skull by inches. One step forward, and I'd be a memory. Behind a weathered fence post, I crouched, ears ringing, staring at the impossible. Harold Grayson, president of the local homeowners association, stood at my property line, rifle in hand, shouting words lost in the wind. He called 911 minutes earlier, claiming I was a danger for firing guns on my own land. But this was no neighborly dispute. He'd aimed to kill. My name's Tom Hargrove, 52, retired Army mechanic, and this is the story of how a quiet dream turned into a war. 3 months ago, I moved to Willow Creek, Texas, to claim my late uncle's 15-acre ranch. Uncle Ben had been a cattleman, a fix-it wizard, in the heart of every neighborhood barbecue. His land wasn't vast, but it was home-open, peaceful, and mine. I'd spent childhood summers here, learning to shoot, ride, and patch pipes with duct tape and grit. When Ben passed, he left it all to me, and after years of deployments and a divorce that left me hollow, I craved the silence. But silence doesn't last when an HOA lurks nearby. Redstone Ranch was grandfathered outside their control, a fact Harold Grayson refused to accept. The HOA had recently annexed nearby plots, and Harold, a man who loved rules more than people, saw my land as his next conquest. Trouble started the first time I tested my old hunting rifle at a makeshift range. I'd built sandbags, with backstops, safety signs, all legal. I'd even cleared it with the sheriff. But the next day, a typed letter appeared under my gate. Cease firearm use on HOA-adjacent property. Immediate compliance required. Harold Grayson, HOA president. I laughed, crumpled it, and tossed it in the trash. Big mistake. 2 days later, I caught Harold skulking along my fence, snapping photos with a telephoto lens. Private property, I said calmly. Please leave. He smirked. You'll learn, Tom. This is a community. I didn't argue, just started documenting everything Army habits die hard. Soon, my mailbox was smashed, my water hose sliced. I suspected Harold but had no proof. I tried peace, dropping off a basket of apples and a note asking for respect. He ignored it. Then came the morning that changed everything. I'd invited my buddy Nate, a former Marine who runs a gun safety program, to the ranch. We were practicing with dummy rounds in the back shed, not even firing. But Harold must have been watching. An hour later, a police cruiser rolled up. Deputy Ryan Carter, a young guy with a firm handshake, said a neighbor reported gunfire endangering the public. I showed him the shed, the dummy rounds, the manuals. He radioed it clear and left, but I knew Harold was building a case, waiting for me to slip. I stopped using the range, added cameras, and tightened security. But last night, coyotes got too close to the barn. I fired 2 warning shots into the air. Legal, necessary. This morning, around 8 a.m., I heard a truck. Coffee in hand, I stepped out and saw Harold climb from his vehicle, rifle slung across his chest. You're done, Tom, he yelled. This ends today. I thought he was bluffing until he raised the weapon. My mug shattered on the ground as I dove behind the gatepost. The shot rang out, and now here I was, pinned down, sirens faint in the distance, wondering if the cops would believe a retired vet or an HOA tyrant waving a gun. Harold paced, shouting into his phone. Get here now. He's armed, dangerous. I stayed low, my training screaming to wait for clarity. No neighbors were near Old Man Jenkins, my closest, lived half a mile off and slept till noon. It was just me, Harold, and the approaching law. I had to decide, run, confront, or hold. Running wasn't an option. Confronting was suicide. So I waited, heart pounding as the sirens grew louder. The cruisers screeched in, gravel flying, lights blinding. Hands up, an officer barked. I complied, arms high. I'm unarmed, the property owner. I shouted, nodding toward Harold, who'd lowered his rifle and was now waving like a choir boy. He shot at me. Deputy Carter was there. Thank God. Harold called 911, he said, approaching cautiously. Said you fired at him. Lies, I said. He trespassed, shot first. My cameras caught it. Harold stepped forward, all innocence. He's unstable, got an arsenal. He fired last night. Carter checked the perimeter, eyeing my gate camera. I knew it recorded everything, uploaded to the cloud. After what felt like hours, he returned, whispering to another officer. We need your weapon, Harold, the second cop said. You're not authorized here, and firing on private property is serious. Harold stammered, his bravado crumbling. They didn't cuff him yet, just took statements, confiscated our rifles, and warned us to stay apart. Carter gave me a nod. Stay sharp, Tom. He's not done. Back inside, I locked every door, downloaded the footage, and sat on the porch, watching my cows graze. My dog, Rusty, a loyal old lab, curled up beside me. Then my phone buzzed an email from the county zoning office. Harold had filed a complaint, claiming I was running an unpermitted firearms facility, complete with photos and an audio clip of my coyote shots. He was doubling down, trying to bury me legally. And the next day, a surveyor appeared, measuring my land. HOA's building a walking path, he said. This is communal now. My blood ran cold. That land was mine, and Harold was trying to steal it. The surveyor's words echoed in my head. Communal land. I stood on my porch, fists clenched, watching him pack his clipboard and scurry off. Redstone Ranch had been in my family for 2 generations, and now Harold Grayson, a petty HOA dictator, was trying to carve it up like a holiday turkey. I pulled out my phone and showed the surveyor the deed me name, Tom Hargrove, printed clear as day. This is mine, I said, voice steady despite the rage. Never was, never will be HOA's. His eyes widened. I didn't mean to trespass, he stammered, then bolted. I wasn't letting this slide. I called Nate. You still got that drone with the thermal cam? I asked. Yep, he said. What's up? Time to see what Harold's really doing. By midnight, Nate was at the ranch. We set the drone up behind the barn, hidden from the road. Its thermal vision cut through the dark, giving us a clear view of the neighborhood. Within 20 minutes, we spotted movement 2 figures near my western fence, where Harold's walking path was supposedly planned. Nate zoomed in. That's Harold, he whispered, and that's Phil Carter, the HOA treasurer. They were planting wooden stakes with numbered tags, marking my land like it was theirs. Harold snapped photos, Phil measured with a wheel roller. They're planning something big, I growled. Nate glanced at me. Call the sheriff? Not yet, I said. Let them dig their own grave. We watched for another 15 minutes until they drove off. The next morning, I printed the drone images, labeled them HOA trespass, and made 5 copy 2 at home, 1 at Nate's, 1 with my lawyer, Sarah Monroe, in town. I wasn't losing what Uncle Ben left me. But Harold wasn't done. That weekend, a letter from the county clerk arrived, announcing a proposed zoning amendment to turn an used agricultural space into a community recreational corridor. It was legal jargon for stealing my ranch. Then, on the HOA's online forum, Harold posted a screed accusing me of endangering kids, stockpiling weapons, and threatening peace. He included a blurry photo of me with a rifle, claiming it was from the night I attacked a neighbor. Comments exploded. Some demanded my arrest, others asked questions, a few defended me. Harold was poisoning the narrative. I fought back. I gathered my deed, drone footage, gate cam audio, Harold's letters, and the bullet casing from his shot. I marched into the sheriff's office and laid it out for Deputy Ryan Carter. He flipped through the evidence, face grim. This opens a criminal investigation, he said. But brace yourself, Tom. Men like Harold get dangerous when cornered. That night, I barely slept, rifle within reach, Rusty growling at every shadow. Around 3 a.m., tires crunched gravel. I grabbed my weapon and crept to the gate. Harold's white truck idled, headlights off. He stepped out in camo, a crossbow slung over his back. Stop right there, Harold, I called, rifle raised. He froze, then aimed the crossbow at my chest. You don't belong here, he snarled. My finger tightened on the trigger. Just as the bowstring twanged, a spotlight blazed from the tree line. Drop your weapon, Sheriff's Department, a voice boomed. Harold spun, too late. Nate had called backup. The woods erupted with flashlights and sirens. Deputies charged in, Ryan Carter among them. Harold Grayson, he said, you're under arrest for aggravated trespassing, attempted assault, and violating a protective order. Harold's crossbow hit the dirt. His arrogance melted into fear as they cuffed him. Thanks for the heads up, Ryan told Nate, who slung his drone bag over his shoulder. Saved a life tonight. Nate shrugged. Not letting my brother get shot over HOA nonsense. Ryan turned to me. We've got the crossbow, his prints, your drone footage. This'll stick. I nodded, heart still racing, but deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Days later, Harold's mugshot hit the local paper. The community reeled, but whispers surfaced about his past bullying, intimidation, a zoning dispute years back. Yet the HOA doubled down. Their lawyer sent a letter claiming emergency leadership would enforce regulations and push the zoning amendment. They still wanted my land for trails and gardens. I was done playing nice. I met Sarah, my lawyer, who didn't blink at my evidence stack. Sue them? She asked. No, I said. I'm buying their leverage. The land they targeted for the trail was a vacant lot owned by an out-of-state firm. I used every dime of my savings to buy it, sending the HOA a copy of the deed with one line: "This land is private. Trespassers will be prosecuted." They went silent. But then, riding my ATV near the cattle trough at dusk, I spotted two men in hoodie sewn with a bolt cutter, one with a camera. Rusty growled. I overheard them. Snap the broken fence. File a claim he's neglecting the land. Trigger an inspection. They were staging vandalism. You boys lost. I yelled. They bolted. I snapped photos and called Ryan. They're desperate, he said, reviewing my pictures. Your land deal lit a fire under them. This is criminal conspiracy now. 2 nights later, I woke to smoke. Thick, black clouds poured through my window. I grabbed Rusty and ran outside. The barn was an inferno, flames devouring the wood. The livestock screamed. I sprinted to the hose lashed. The water barrels drained. This was no accident. Someone had planned it. I kicked in the barn's side door, heat slamming me like a fist. Hay bales blazed, but I yanked the pin open, screaming, "Go, run." 3 goats, 2 sheep, 1 cow bolted out. The roof groaned, a burning beam crashing inches from my leg, igniting my jeans. I rolled in the dirt, smothering the flames, and crawled out as the barn collapsed. Rusty licked my singed face. The animals huddled, safe but trembling. In the distance, headlights sped a white SUV, no plates. The fire department arrived at dawn, Ryan with them. Arson, he said, eyeing a burnt gas can. Forced entry, accelerant. They knew what they were doing. My throat burned from smoke, arms bandaged. I saw the truck. I croaked. We'll check road cams, Ryan said. This isn't a property dispute anymore. It's criminal. I nodded, jaw tight. I wanted them buried legally. Inside, I pulled up the HOA's charter. Section 9.4. If the board faced criminal charges tied to HOA operations, it could be dissolved by a majority vote. That was my way, and not just to survive, but to end this war. With Sarah, I filed complaints, attaching footage, photos, and fire reports. We moved to dissolve the board, citing conspiracy and harassment. Then we went public, posting drone footage of Harold and Phil trespassing, the arson report, my burnt barn, and a statement. I served 20 years for this country. I followed the law. They tried to destroy me. It's time to protect our land from corruption. The post went viral. 30,000 shares, hundreds of comments. Neighbors shared their own HOA horror stories, fines for unmowed lawns, threats over mailbox colors. Harold had ruled by fear, and now the truth was out. A week later, we held an emergency vote. The community center gymnasium overflowed with retirees, families, workers. The final tally, Harold's board was dissolved. The HO went under interim management, pending a financial audit. But victory felt hollow. My barn was ash, my fences slashed. And the next morning, red spray paint scarred my gate. You think this is over? The red spray paint on my gate glared like a wound. You think this is over? Rusty growled, his old bones tense beside me. I stood there, dawn barely breaking over Willow Creek, Texas, feeling the weight of a fight I thought I'd won. Harold Grayson was behind bars, his HOA board dissolved, but someone, maybe Minnie Sumiana, still wanted me broken. I called Deputy Ryan Carter. He arrived within the hour, snapping photos of the threat, his jaw tight. We'll park a patrol nearby for a few nights, he said. But Tom, this is a message. They're not just angry bold. I nodded, glancing at the charred skeleton of my barn. Message received, I said. But I'm sending one back. That night, Nate and I worked in silence, rigging motion sensors along the fence, installing floodlights and infrared trail cams. Nate even set up tripwire alarms with empty cancelo tech, but effective. We weren't just fortifying. We were done playing defense. I recorded a video in front of the barn's ruins, voice steady. To whoever's spray painting threats, setting fires, aiming weapons, you had your chance. I didn't start this, but I'll finish it not with violence, but with truth. The law's watching. Posted online. The video exploded, shared across Texas and beyond. Veterans, ranchers, and folks fed up with HOA tyranny flooded the comments with support. My story was no longer just mine. It was a spark. But 2 nights later, the patrol car didn't show. I called Ryan voicemail. Dispatch no answer. Pacing the porch with Rusty, I felt the silence turn heavy. Around midnight, a branch snapped. I grabbed my rifle, flipped on the floodlights, and saw them. 3 masked men crouched by my truck near the barn wreckage. One held a crowbar, another a gas can. I fired a warning shot into the air. Step away from the truck. Armed and monitored. They bolted, but my alarms kicked in. One tripped on the wire, sprawling in the dirt. Rusty lunged, barking like a demon. I sprinted over, pinned the guy with my knee, and yanked off his mask. Phil Carter, the HOA treasurer, stared up, eyes wild. "You don't get it, Tom," he spat. "You're no hero. You ruined everything. Harold gave us order." I glared back. He built a prison. Sheriff's backup arrived. Ryan had been delayed by a bribed rookie cop rerouting the patrol. Phil was cuffed, his 2 accomplices caught later in the woods, thanks to Nate's drone and Rusty's chase. Their backpacks held zip ties, lighter fluid, a map of my ranch, and a loaded .22 pistol. Ryan looked grim. This wasn't a scare. They were planning worse. The county seized control of the HOA, launching a federal probe into fund misuse, harassment, and conspiracy. Multiple members resigned before arrests. Harold faced new charges: criminal conspiracy, attempted manslaughter, felony trespass. In court, I testified, laying out the land grab, the lies, the fire, the threats, the ambush. I showed the jury drone footage, gate cam videos, the spray-painted gate. They deliberated 3 hours. Guilty. Harold got 12 years, Phil, 7. The HOA was permanently dissolved. Standing on my porch afterward, watching the sunrise, I didn't feel triumph, just resolve. For every HOA like Harold's, more existed, bullying good people, veterans, seniors, families. I poured coffee, petted Rusty, and smiled. We'd survived. Redstone Ranch was still mine. But scars lingered. Rusty limped now, age catching up. I rebuilt the barn with Nate, who practically lived at the ranch post-fire, saying he didn't trust me alone. The community rally, hardware stores donated lumber. Strangers drove hours to shake my hand. "Thank you for fighting," they said. Yet the HOA's ghost haunted me. One Sunday, a letter appeared in my mailbox, no stamp, hand-delivered. Inside, dozens of photos, me with Rusty, fixing the barn, on the porch some at night, from the woods. A shaky note read, "You humiliated the wrong people. The board's gone, but we're still watching." My stomach churned. Nate took one look and said, "We're not done." We reported it to Ryan, but no fingerprints, no footage, no leads. "Stay sharp," he warned. "Someone's holding a grudge." I wasn't scared, I was ready. We upgraded security, thermal sensors, scheduled drone patrols. Redstone Ranch became a fortress, but not a prison. Isolation breeds danger, community fights it. So I started the Rancher Network, a group for locals bullied by HOAs, fined, harassed, silenced. We met monthly, shared stories, pooled funds for legal aid. Soon, we had 400 members across 3 counties. The network grew into a movement. People stood up, exposed corruption, demanded reform. HOAs dissolved or restructured. Good folks took charge. The local news ran a story, from hostility to hope, how one rancher's stand sparked an HOA reform movement in Texas. That rancher was me, but I didn't do it alone. Nate, Ryan, Sarah, Rusty. Harold appealed from prison, but the evidence buried him. His appeal failed. He'd rot behind bars. One morning, I carved "still standing" into my gate's wood, where the spray paint had been. Peace isn't given, it's protected. Redstone Ranch was mine, fought for, earned. But the fight had changed me. I wasn't just a rancher anymore. I was a voice for those pushed around. And I'd never let anyone take that away. The community center buzzed with new energy. Neighbors, once cowed by Harold, now spoke freely, planning a co-op to share resources no HOA needed. I hosted the first meeting at the ranch, Rusty napping by the fire as folks swapped stories of fines and threats. "You showed us we don't have to take it," said Mrs. Ellis, a widow who'd been fined for her garden's wrong flowers. I shrugged, just did what was right. But late at night, alone with Rusty, I'd stare at the tree lean, rifle nearby. The photos, the no they weren't Harold's. Someone was still out there. The Rancher Network gave me allies, but also enemies. I'd humiliated powerful people, and grudges don't die easy in Texas. Nate rigged a new alarm system, joking, "You're a magnet for trouble, Tom." I laughed, but my eyes stayed on the horizon. One evening, a stranger pulled UPA lawyer from Austin, representing a developer eyeing Willow Creek. Your network's stirring things up, he said. HOAs are losing grip. You could make a lot selling this land. I shook my head. Not for sale. Never will be. He left, but his visit gnawed at me. Was he tied to the photos? The note? I didn't know, but I'd find out. The barn was nearly rebuilt, its new beams gleaming. Rusty hobbled, but still patrolled. The rancher network planned a rally to push for state HOA laws, transparency, accountability. I'd speak, tell my story, maybe spark change beyond Texas. But as I locked the gate that night, a chill hit me. A single photo lay on the ground that morning by the barn. No note, just a message in its silence. They were still watching. The photo lay on my kitchen table, its edges curling in the Texas heat. Me, standing by the half-rebuilt barn that morning, caught mid-step with Rusty at my side. No note, no fingerprints, just a silent promise. Someone was still out there, watching Redstone Ranch. I called Deputy Ryan Carter at dawn. He arrived with a forensics tech, bagging the photo like evidence from a crime scene. No leads yet, he said, rubbing his jaw. But this is personal, Tom. Whoever's doing this isn't just mad theory obsessed. I nodded, my eyes drifting to the tree line. I'm not running, I said. Let them come. Nate showed up an hour later, his pickup kicking gravel. Another one? He asked, eyeing the bagged photo. We need to hunt these bastards. We doubled down on security, more thermal cams, a second drone, and a nightly patrol schedule split between us. Rusty, despite his limp, stayed vigilant, growling at shadows. But I wasn't just fortifying. I was building something bigger. The rancher network had grown to 600 members, spanning 5 counties. We weren't just sharing stories anymore. We were filing lawsuits, lobbying for state HOA reforms, and helping folks fight back. My war with Harold Grayson had lit a fire, and it was spreading. But fire draws moths. The Austin lawyer's visit lingered in my mind. His offer to buy Redstone Ranch felt like more than a pitch too timed, too pointed. Was he connected to the photos? The note? I dug into his firm online, finding ties to a developer that had bankrolled Harold's HOA expansions. No proof, but my gut screamed trouble. Nate ran the drone over the ranch's edges, checking for signs of trespass. Found fresh tire tracks, he reported, pointing to a spot near the cattle trough. Not yours, not mine. Someone had been here, close. That night, I posted another video, standing at my gate where still standing was carved. To whoever's leaving photos, stalking my land, you're not scaring me. You're exposing yourselves. Every move you make, we're watching. The rancher network's watching. The law's watching. Step onto my land again, and you'll answer for it. The video hit 50,000 views in 24 hours. Comments poured in support, outrage, even a few veiled threats from anonymous accounts. You're poking a bear, Hargrove, one read. I didn't blink. Bears bleed too. 2 days later, the rally came. The Willow Creek Community Center overflowed with ranchers, retirees, and families, all fed up with HOA tyranny. I stood at the podium, Rusty napping nearby, and told my story. The shot, the fire, the photos. This isn't just about my ranch, I said. It's about your homes, your rights. HOAs were meant to serve, not rule. Let's make Texas a place where no one's bullied on their own land. The crowd roared. We passed a petition for state laws, financial audits for HOAs, caps on fines, protections for non-members like me. Over 2,000 signatures in a day. But victory brought shadows. That night, driving home, I noticed a black SUV tailing me. No plates, tinted windows. I took a back road, and it followed. My pulse quickened. I called Nate, keeping him on speaker. Got a tail, I said. Meet me at the ranch. I floored the gas, weaving through dirt roads, losing the SUV in a cloud of dust. When I pulled into Redstone, Nate was there, shotgun in hand. They're testing you, he said, seeing how far they can push. I gripped my rifle. They'll find out. The next morning, Ryan called. Got a hit on those tire tracks, rental SUV, paid in cash, no name. Dead end. But we pulled road cam footage near your place. Same vehicle's been circling for weeks. My jaw tightened. They're not random. Ryan sighed. No, they're not. We're adding patrols. But Tom, you're a target. The rally, the networkiery shaking things up. Powerful people don't like that. I hung up, staring at the barn's new beams. Powerful or not, they'd learn I don't break. Then it happened again. Midnight, alarms blaring. The floodlights caught a figure sprinting from my fence, a gas can glinting in their hand. Rusty barked, hobbling after them. I grabbed my rifle and chased, but they vanished into the woods. Near the fence, I found a slashed water line and a note pinned to a post: sell or burn. My blood boiled. This wasn't Harold's small-time vendetta anymore. This was organized, funded. I called Ryan, who arrived with a team. "This is escalation," he said, bagging the note. "We're looping in the state police. Possible ties to that developer. Sarah, my lawyer, met me the next day. We sue," she said, slamming a folder of evidence photos, notes, drone footage. "Hit the developer, their shell companies, anyone linked. Bankrupt them." I shook my head. "Suing's too slow. I'm taking the fight to them." I'd learned the developer, Vanguard Properties, owned half the HOA's old assets. They'd backed Harold's land grabs, profited from bullied homeowners. I contacted a journalist friend, Lisa Hayes, who ran a Texas investigative blog. "Expose them," I said, handing her my evidence. "Names, dates, deals. Let the world see." Lisa's article dropped a week later. Vanguard's dirty play: how a developer fueled an HOA's reign of terror. It named executives, linked them to Harold, and detailed my fight. The story went national: CNN, Fox, even a Reddit thread with millions of upvotes. Vanguard stock tanked. Protests hit their Austin office. The rancher network swelled to 1,200 members, now pushing for federal HOA oversight. I'd drawn blood, but I'd also painted a bigger target on my back. One evening, as I checked the barn's new roof, Rusty froze, ears up. A low hum cut the aerodrome, not mine, hovering over the ranch. I grabbed my shotgun, aimed, and fired. The machine crashed in the pasture. Nate ran over, prying it open. "High-end," he said. "Camera, GPS, no markings." We traced its signal to a server in Austin, tied to a Vanguard subsidiary. Ryan's team seized it as evidence, but the message was clear: they weren't backing off. The state police raided Vanguard's offices, seizing records. 2 executives resigned, but no arrests yet. Ryan warned me. "They're cornered, Tom. Cornered animals fight dirty." That night, I sat on the porch, Rusty at my feet, rifle across my lap. The stars were bright, but the quiet felt wrong. Then, a faint click me gates lock. I stood, weapon ready, as headlights flared. A black SUV idled, same as the tail. Someone stepped out, face hidden. "Hargrove," a voice called. "Last chance. Sell, or you're done." I fired a warning shot into the dirt. "Get off my land." The figure ducked, the SUV peeling out. Nate's drone launched, tracking it to a county line before losing signal. Ryan's team found the vehicle abandoned, stolen. No prints, no leads. But I wasn't shaken, I was furious. They thought they could scare me off Redstone Ranch, my uncle's legacy. They were wrong. The Rancher Network planned a second rally, bigger, in Austin. We'd march to the Capitol, demand laws to gut predatory HOAs and developers like Vanguard. I'd speak again, but this time, I'd name names: executives, politicians, anyone tied to this mess. Sarah drafted a class action suit, pooling network members' cases. Lisa promised more articles. The fight was bigger than my ranch. No, it was for every homeowner crushed by greed. But as I locked the gate that night, a new photo slipped from the mailbox. Me, at the first rally, mid-speech. Scrawled on the back: "You can't hide." My heart pounded, not from fear, but from clarity. This wasn't just a shadow, it was a syndicate, and I'd kicked their hive. Rusty growled, sensing it too. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The photo of me at the rally, scrawled with "You can't hide," burned into my mind as I stood on Redstone Ranch's porch, the Texas dawn painting the sky gold. Rusty, graying and limping, sat vigilant beside me, his growl a low rumble. The Rancher Network had grown to 1,500 members, a force pushing for HOA reform across the state, but Vanguard Properties and their shadowy allies weren't done. They'd moved from Harold Grayson's clumsy vendetta to a calculated campaign: drones, stolen SUVs, threats. I wasn't just fighting for my 15 acres anymore. I was fighting for every homeowner crushed by greed. And I'd be damned if I let them win. Deputy Ryan Carter's team traced the latest photo to a burner phone. No leads. "They're professionals now," he said, his voice tight. "Vanguard's got deep pocket-hired muscle, maybe ex-cops. You're their biggest threat, Tom." I nodded, gripping my coffee mug. "Good. Let them come." Nate, ever the Marine, rigged a new security grid: motion-activated sirens, reinforced gates, even a panic button linked to Ryan's station. Sarah, my lawyer, filed the class action suit against Vanguard, naming 200 plaintiffs from the network. Lisa's next article was set to drop, exposing Vanguard's political bribes. The Austin rally loomed, our chance to shake the Capitol. But the enemy struck first. 2 nights later, my alarm screamed. Floodlights caught a pickup tearing through my eastern fence, 2 men leaping out with Molotov cocktails. Rusty barked, hobbling forward. I grabbed my shotgun and fired into the air. Drop it, I roared. One hurled a bottle. It shattered against the barn, flames licking the new wood. I tackled him, pinning his arms as Nate sprinted from the house, dousing the fire with an extinguisher. The second man fled, but Ryan's patrol, now on high alert, nabbed him a mile away. The pinned guy spat curses, his face unfamiliar, hired, not local. Ryan cuffed him, face grim. These aren't HOA lackeys. They're mercenaries, Tom. Vanguard's desperate. The pickup was stolen, but a burner phone inside held texts. Burn Hargrove out. Bonus for speed. The state police linked the number to a Vanguard consultant, arrested the next day. The news hit like a bomb. Lisa's article ran, headlined, Vanguard's arson plot, developer hires thugs to silence Texas rancher. Protests swelled outside Vanguard's offices. Their CEO resigned. The class action suit gained 100 more plaintiffs. The Austin rally was electric. 10,000 March ranchers, teachers, veterans, kids waving signs. No more HOA tyranny. I took the stage, Rusty at my side, and spoke. They burned my barn, stalked my land, threatened my life. But Redstone Ranch still stands, and so do we. Vanguard, HOAs, corrupt developers, you don't own us. We're taking our homes back. The crowd roared, chanting still standing. The petition hit 50,000 signatures, forcing a state hearing on HOA reform. Bills were drafted, audits, fine limits, protections for non-members. The rancher network was no longer a group. It was a movement. But victory came with a price. The night after the rally, I found a package at my Gatineau stamp, just my name. Inside, a USB drive and a note. Play it. Last warning. I called Nate and Ryan. We plugged it into a secure laptop. A grainy video loaded. Me, walking Rusty, filmed from a drone. A voice, distorted, hissed. You think you've won? We're everywhere. Sell, or your dog's next. Rusty whimpered, sensing my tension. Nate slammed his fist. Enough. We end this. Ryan's jaw tightened. This is terrorism. I'm calling the feds. The FBI took over, tracing the USB to a Vanguard contractor with ties to organized crime. Raids hit 3 states, netting 12 arrest executives, mercenaries, even a corrupt county official who'd funneled HOA funds to Vanguard. The contractor flipped, spilling details. Vanguard had hired a syndicate to neutralize me, starting with Harold, escalating to arson and threats. My testimony sealed their fate. In federal court, I faced the ringleader, a Vanguard VP named Marcus Tate. You picked the wrong rancher, I said, showing the jury the USB, photos, drone wreckage. Tate got 20 years. Vanguard was fined $200 million, its assets frozen. Redstone Ranch stood quiet now. The barn was finished, its beams a testament to survival. Rusty, slower but stubborn, patrolled with me. The rancher network opened chapters nationwide, advising homeowners, funding lawsuits, rewriting laws. Texas passed the Hargrove Act, HOA transparency, non-member protections, criminal penalties for harassment. Other states followed. Lisa's blog became a book deal, still standing. One man's war against HOA greed. She dedicated it to me, Nate, Sarah, Ryan, and Rusty. One spring morning, I walked the ranch, carving a new sign above the gate. Redstone Ranch, free forever. No more photos arrived. No drones hummed. No tires crunched gravel. The syndicate was gutted, Vanguard bankrupt, Harold and his cronies forgotten in prison. The community thrived, no HOA, just neighbors sharing tools, seeds, stories. Mrs. Ellis brought me her famous peach pie, saying, "You gave us our town back." I smiled, petting Rusty. We did it together. But I never forgot the cost. My arm still bore burn scars, my sleep came in fits, and Rusty's limp worsened. The fight had forged meadower, sharper, but wary. I'd stood for something bigger than myself, and it mattered. The Rancher Network hosted its first national conference, 5,000 strong, in Dallas. I closed it with a speech. Peace isn't free. It's fought for, bled for, built. Don't let anyone steal your home, your voice. Stand, rebuild, rise. The applause shook the hall. Back home, I sat on the porch, Rusty's head in my lap, the sunset blazing. Redstone Ranch was mine, not just in deed, but in spirit. Uncle Ben's legacy, my battleground, our victory. I'd faced bullets, flames, shadows, and won. No one would take it, ever. As the stars emerged, I raised my coffee mug to the horizon. Still standing, I whispered. And I always would. This story of Tom Hargrove and Redstone Ranch is more than a tale of one man's fight. It's a call to question injustice, greed, and the systems that let bullies thrive. Have you faced an HOA, a developer, or any power that tried to silence you? What's your story? In the comments, share your thoughts on violence, justice, and standing up. Was Tom right to fight with law and truth, or should he have sold and walked away? Tell us where you're from and take a stand. Your voice matters, and someone out there needs to hear it. Let's keep this movement alive.